Hey everybody, I think we're live now. Welcome to Sweetcast. We're doing a live stream and we've got a lot of guests coming on today, so I think this will be a lot of fun. Wes, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome.
Sure, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me and my cohort here. I'm Wes Loker. I'm a comic book writer. Done a bunch of series that you may or may not have heard of, including books like Chambers, The Undoubtables, most recently Unit 44 with Alterna Comics, and I'm here today. We're talking about the new book that myself and Graham Jarvis have coming out called Awry, which drops on Wednesday through Action Lab Entertainment. So very exciting.
Great title. Graham, welcome. It's good to meet you. Both of you. This is the first time I've met you, so
Yeah, thanks.
welcome.
It's nice to be here.
Awesome. So we were talking, Wes and I were talking a little bit. And I got to say too, we're going to have David Furr on the show. He's going to be coming in just a little bit later. So this is going to be a lot of fun. But Wes and I were talking a little bit ahead of time on how many publications he's had under his belt. And I don't know, it is kind of cool to think about. I don't know, I'm in my first comic project that's getting published, and just the sheer amount of work that it is to get that book done is insane. And so, yeah, just thinking, man, getting more and more down under your belt. I'm sure things get a little bit better and you get used to the
work. They get easier as you go, I would say. As long as you have a good team and especially if people are experienced, that helps a lot too. The first one is always the hardest, just, for any book. But I'll tell you, like, the thing, having made comics for the last few years, the thing that I always tell people is, if somebody sends me a comic or gives me a comic, like at a convention, it could be the worst comic in the world, but I have so much respect for anybody that's just simply gone through the process and gotten it to the finish line, because it is so difficult that, like, I have nothing but love for people that are able to take that creative energy and focus it into something.
Absolutely. And then for you, Graham, is this your first published work, your first series, I should say?
Yeah, this was my first comic series. So everything Wes said is very true. It's very difficult to go through the whole process and get to the finish line.
Yeah, no, it's good though. It's a good learning process.
Yeah, I will add though that Graham and I did work together before this series. We did a little short comic, and that appeared in an anthology from Alterna Comics called the If Anthology, which I think came out in maybe 2016.
That's right.
And that was a short called Symptoms, about a hero that was losing his powers and how he was kind of grappling with that.
That was a fun one.
It was.
So many things have happened since then. It's like I almost forget about things that I've done because I've done. I mean, it's just been the last 2 years have been a really busy time. So I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's not following Graham on Twitter or Instagram, you should do so, because I mean, you put art up like every day, new art. It's crazy. I don't know. Like, do you have a time during the day that you like focus on that, or like what do you do to just produce so much?
I try to make something every day. Just trying to get better, I guess, is the main thing for me. Is
totally.
I don't know. It's just like that's sort of my escape, I guess, my hobby. So
Nice.
Very cool. So, well, you don't get better if you don't practice, right?
Definitely.
Absolutely. We have In a Disguise in the chat. Hello, and Graham in the chat as well. Hello. Hopefully we'll get some more people dropping by as well. So this is the book. In a Disguise says, what comic, parentheses S, comics does he do? So here's the comic we're looking at. This is Awry. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Awry, and then we'll kind of get into the meat of the show?
Yeah, I would love to. So Awry is a 4-issue sci-fi series that again comes out this coming Wednesday from Action Lab. And the gist of the story is it follows a crew of astronauts who are on this mission to investigate a black hole. And they've been on the ship for 10 years to get there. And in that time, they've gotten on each other's nerves a little bit. So when they get there, they're not on the best of terms with one another. And then, of course, everything goes wrong, and they have to come together to work as a team if they want to actually survive and get back home.
Very cool. Nice. Well, it looks good. This is a little bit different than what we're used to promoting, what I'm used to promoting, because there's so many crowdfunding campaigns. So it's kind of refreshing to see that this is like, it looks like all 4 issues are done. Like, this is
Yeah.
in existence.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I have on the title of this video just so nobody's disappointed. We're going to talk about the Joker film and some of the headlines and stuff, but I do want to get into this a little bit because this is really interesting to me. So this is going through Action Lab, and the publication schedule is a little different than what you'd normally see. Will you explain that for us, how this is all being published?
Absolutely. So we're not going the traditional route where you would be able to go and pick up this comic at a comic book shop. When I originally pitched it to the publisher, they accepted it, but they said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that, moving forward as a publishing house, we're going to be doing some things a little bit different, and that means that most of our titles are simply going to be released in digital format exclusively through Comixology." And you can look at that one of two ways. You can say, "Oh, well, I can't have the physical copy," but you have to think that there is, for any company, there's a lot of overhead that comes along with that. You have a lot of costs with printing and shipping and stocking and that type of thing. So from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And then also, in addition, more and more people are using Comixology every day. I don't have a local comic shop where I live, so I read exclusively on Comixology. So that's not really like any type of barrier to entry for me. And for a lot of people that I speak with at conventions and such are adopting that. And so the other thing that they said we're going to do a little bit different is we're going to put out all of the issues on the same day. So this Wednesday, October 9th, you'll be able to order, purchase, and read the entire series. And I was a little hesitant about that at first. I'm not going to lie. Graham and I actually talked about this. We were like, well, that's different. And so the more I thought about it, I said, well, maybe different's not bad. Maybe this is more. Maybe this is the future. We're so used to watching our televised content and binge watching things and taking in entire seasons that my thought process then turned to, well, let's say that somebody goes on to Comixology, they buy the first issue of All Right and they love it. They don't have to wait an entire month to go and get the next issue. They can order it right then. Yeah. And then a week later on October, I think it's the 16th. I'm really bad at math. The volume 1 collected edition will also be released for a slightly cheaper price point than getting all the issues. So no matter how you like to read, whether in trade paperback or in single issues, you'll be able to do that through the Comixology platform. That's
cool. I'm really interested too after the fact. I'll have to pick your brain and see what you thought about it. Because again, it's just another different way of looking at comics and publishing things. And I've been looking at this a lot because for crowdfunding, there's certain things that work. And, the monthly issue thing, I can't think of a way to really make that work very well with crowdfunding.
It's hard.
Something like this for digital, exactly. I think of, binge reading. That's how I like to read, especially comics. Like just get, you look at, however many issues or however many trade paperbacks, and you can just kind of dig into it. There's tons to read. So I don't know. This is really interesting concept. I like it.
Absolutely. And you have to think too, there's that newer publisher called TKO that just started releasing books within the last couple of months, and they've built their entire platform around this exact format. Essentially, you can get a book day and date. You can get a book from them that you can either buy it in single issues and get them all at the same time. You can buy the trade paperback, or you can buy it all digitally. So they've built their entire business model around it. So it tells me that something must be working.
And we've got a question here from Citizen T. Citizen T says, does it make the sales and marketing easier?
Well, that part remains to be seen. So we won't know until after Wednesday, and probably not even until the quarter ends, to be honest with you. But from a marketing standpoint, it's fun. It's fun to say, hey, you can binge read this in a couple days. I think makes people say, what does that mean? Is that something that I would like to do? Does that appeal to me? So, we'll see. I mean, how are you feeling about that process, Graham? I know it was a little scary for us, but
what the marketing aspect or
how do you feel about everything coming out at once?
Oh, right. Well, that was, I don't know, just because you work so hard to finish the entire thing, you're kind of worried that maybe, I don't know, you don't have the longevity of other things. If you release it all at once, you don't have but I don't know. I think it's going to be an exciting, we'll see how it goes down. I guess, like you said, it remains to be seen the results. So
Yeah, it could crash and burn, or it could be great. One of
yeah,
the two.
see.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't want it to crash and burn, that's for sure. So
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I posted the link to Comixology in the chat for Rye. The nice thing is it's really affordable, and it looks like you can pre-order it right there, right in
Sure.
Comixology.
Yeah,
So-
you can pre-order it now, and then
Yeah.
on Wednesday it'll automatically be available for you to download to your device to check out. So you can be reading it when you wake up on Wednesday morning. You can turn off the alarm clock, grab your phone or your iPad, and get to it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I would just tell people to go ahead and take the day off of work to
Yeah, you might as well.
not only read the series, but then really reflect on it. Maybe read it again.
Yeah.
It's a,
Tell
it's a
your
good
friend.
Yeah.
excuse to call in sick.
Exactly. Maybe get your book club together.
Well,
Yeah, get your grandma too.
Yeah. She's retired. She doesn't have a lot going on. Get your grandma
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah. We're gonna jump to some of this Joker stuff I want to talk about, but Little Peep Peep first says, is it worth putting your comic on Comixology? I think we're still that's the question, right? At least in
Yeah.
this method. In general, I think, I don't know, it's just another way to sell your book. So
Yeah, it's another distribution channel. I have
Yeah.
a lot of the one shots that I've done over the past couple of years. I've just self-published them to Comixology, and they do reasonably well there. It's I would have lost money by not putting them there. So why not?
yeah, it's another route to go. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. I'm curious how that goes. We're gonna look at the Joker or Joker. I keep saying the Joker, but it's just Joker.
Yeah,
And Wes, neither of us have seen it, but Graham has seen it.
I have seen it. Yes.
The
I won't say anything though.
The spectacle has been everyone talking about, either on one extreme or the other. The
Yeah.
brilliant and unforgettable Joker borders on genius, and then the very next one, the Joker uses a song by convicted pedophile Gary Glitter. I don't even know who that guy is. He's probably making money off of it, so this movie's evil. And then it's outstanding, irresponsible. So it's like you get both ends of the spectrum. I don't know, Graham.
Yeah.
What do you think? Just a impartial viewer. What did you give it? Is it closer to outstanding or irresponsible?
Oh boy. I don't know what I could say that would not be polarizing. I think it's a movie about a maniac villain that has a maniac villain in it. I mean, I don't know I'm not sure what critics expected, from
Right.
something like that. But that's I didn't know anything about that song being in the movie. That sounds not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like this is again just the interesting part has just been watching the media surrounding it,
Yeah.
because I don't know, I wasn't super interested in watching it, but
Right.
everybody's been talking about it. So I'm just like, man, I guess they've done something with marketing to make
Yeah, they're
it
doing
work.
a great marketing campaign, I say.
Right.
I mean, good and bad publicity, I guess, is
Yeah.
the goal of that. So
Did any of that affect your decision to watch it, or did you decide, I don't know.
I'm not a person who I've been trying to avoid a lot of the news lately, I guess, because it's so insane, seems like.
Yeah.
Ironically, though, that's sort of some of the undertones of the movie are sort of about that sort of thing. So it was interesting, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it really affected my decision. I wanted to go see it just because I like Joaquin Phoenix a lot, the actor.
Yeah.
And he's very talented, so it was good to see him. I don't know, it's just interesting to see him, I guess. He's a good artist, I guess, what I would say.
Yeah.
So
It's funny. I can't look at him without. Do you remember? It was a few years ago when he went on that. He decided that he was a rapper or something.
Right.
And went on to talk shows. I guess it was all a prank or something, like something really big, long game prank.
yeah, he's an interesting guy for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, willing to do crazy. I guess he lost like 50 pounds for that Joker role, so that's kind of crazy too. Like sort of Christian Bale-esque in that way. Yeah, going to extreme
dedicated.
extents. Yeah.
Yeah. I also saw. I think this was on Jimmy Kimmel. I think that was the show. He got on there, and then they showed some outtakes from the Joker movie, and he was like just flipping out against, I don't know if it was a cinematographer or somebody, the lighting guy or something. I couldn't believe they showed it to him like live on the
Oh
air.
man.
But again, I just think like, man, the actors are a different breed of people, you know. There's
Yeah,
something
definitely.
yeah, I don't think I could do it just because, yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, I would be, if I lost 50 pounds, I would be extremely irritable, to say the least.
You'd
You know?
be hangry.
Yes, I would be
That's a good
hangry
point.
all the time. I would not be able to act.
Maybe that's a good point. Maybe it wasn't about him losing the weight so that he could so that he could look skinny. It was so he could be grumpy, to be a good Joker.
Yeah.
Welcome David Furr to the panel. Great to
How's it
see you
going?
again. Very, very
Good to be
good.
here. Who we got here today?
So we've got another creative team, or at least part of a creative team for another book. We got Wes Loker. Am I saying your last name correctly?
You sure are, my friend.
Nailed it. And then we've got Graham Jarvis as well.
Hello.
And y'all work on the same book?
Yeah, we did a book called Awry that is it's a mini series that's coming out through Action Lab on Wednesday, and we are the whole creative team. I did the writing and lettering, and Graham did the art and the colors.
Yep.
Very cool.
Nice. It is a full creative team. Now David Furr is from. Now, David, you said you saw the Joker, right? We'll finish off with
Yes,
the
I
Joker.
did see it Saturday.
What did you think? Did you like it? Thumbs up, thumbs down, somewhere in the middle.
I thought it was a very well done movie. I cannot criticize it as a movie. It was disturbing, I thought. So it kept it from being entertaining, but it was very effective. So yeah, I liked it in that regard. So I was not entertained, but I was impressed by the filmmaking of it and how it really got into your head. I mean, I drove away, just kind of wondering, what did I just watch? Like literally, what was real, what wasn't real.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, nice. And David Furr is on the other end of this spectrum. You guys have a really small creative team. David's managing a very big creative team.
Sure.
So I'm going to just share the screen here a little bit and look at Thrilling Comics. David, we've had you on before, and I've talked about this quite a bit because I'm writing the Silver Streak story on this. We've got 3 stories together, 3 Golden Age stories. Do you want to give us a good elevator pitch, David?
Sure. The idea of the project is we just want to bring back sort of Golden Age type characters and stories, but with the modern writing style and modern art. We picked Thrilling because Thrilling was an actual title from way back in the day. It's of course in public domain, so it's free to use. The original Thrilling comics didn't have Black Terror in it, or actually didn't really use the characters we were using, but it was kind of like, well, let's just pick characters from the public domain we liked. So I'm writing Black Terror. I've got a completely new take on the Black Terror. It's not the original one at all, but it's obviously heavily based on the original one. Chuck Dixon is doing a story called Cat in Black, which is based on Black Cat, the public domain version, but there is some she's mostly 90% public domain, but there's kind of a gray area though. So we thought we'd just create a new character that we could have control over. So we create Cat in Black, who is a movie star, stunt woman, who's also kind of a private investigator that ends up fighting crime. Chuck wrote it as kind of a murder mystery story, but it's got a lot of action in it. So it's pretty exciting. And you can tell us about Silver Streak.
Yeah, Silver Streak is I mean, I really tried to root it in the old Golden Age stories, but I did take some creative license there. It's funny because his origin is so loose, or it's almost just unbelievable. Like, he gets in a car accident and then all of a sudden he dies, and then he comes back. The Swami brings him back to life, and then he's all of a sudden a superhero. And so I tried to explore where you'd have to be mentally to have died and come back to life with these the power of super speed. I thought that was really interesting to play with. And then sort of his weakness is in his mind, as opposed to being some kind of a physical problem or whatever, physical kryptonite. It's kind of in his mind. And so I had a lot of fun writing this. Good times.
I would say of the 3 stories, since I've obviously read all 3 scripts, yours is the most, I'd say, true to the Golden Age. It's very well written. It's very much a sort of good versus bad type story. Very much a classic sort of origin story. Although I guess there's still some of his origin we haven't actually seen, because there's the whole thing about him died and coming back with powers. And I don't know, was that actually in his origin? Like why coming back to life gave him powers?
Yeah, and so in the original origin, it was like he was driving a race car for this Swami, the nameless Swami. They just call him the Swami.
Okay.
And so yeah, he was driving a race car called the Silver Streak, and he got killed by this giant bug. So it's really strange, very golden age, and so he died, and then the Swami decided to bring him to life. And so when he came back alive, he rose from the grave. He had these super speed powers. Not only that, but it did say, and he explained his motivations, that he was essentially just driven or obsessed with justice. And so I tried to play with those concepts, that he woke up with this super speed, but he also woke up with this like intense fixation on justice. And so that's sort of the mental element there. Yeah, the origin story didn't make, I don't know, you look at those old ones, it just takes like a couple pages for them to tell this origin story. And so it's trying to flush it out and make it a little bit deeper without, spending too much time on it. I still wanted to tell a story that was unique from that. And so, I don't know, it was so much fun. I really enjoyed writing it.
Yeah, the older origin stories, they would just pack a lot of information in very few pages. If you go back and read a copy of Amazing Fantasy 15, Spider-Man has this very rich origin, but they like cover the whole thing in 2 pages, just cramming into panels.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they burned through a story. It's I don't know, it's just interesting. Things were a little different. And then I wanted to point out too that Von Klaus, I've had him on the show several times. He's a really good guy. So he's possibly jumping on the project if we reach a certain stretch goal with it.
Yeah, so if we reach a stretch goal, we're going to include a 4th story. It's going to be another Black Terror story. It's going to be in continuity with the one I've written. It'll be written by Von Klaus. No details right now I can give you on the story itself, but that's the idea. We'll bring the book up to 96 pages. If we make goal, but we don't hit the stretch goal, I believe Vaughn is still interested in working with us doing that story in a future project. So, having this campaign make still kind of sets up future things.
Yeah. Nice. And it's kind of hit the mid-campaign slump. You get through that grind and it gets a little, it's just more difficult to get through. And so, yeah, I'm going to try and hit this a little bit harder with promoting it. But yeah, if you haven't backed Thrilling Comics yet, please do. I mean, you got even just for the Chuck Dixon story, that's amazing. But you get 3 great stories in one comic. And yeah, I don't know, a lot of fun. I read all the scripts. I'm digging the art. So yeah, get in there and back it if you haven't yet.
Yeah, I'm very happy with how this is coming out. And even though we are behind in our goals, there's still time. We got a little over 2 weeks. So if the fan base out there really wants to read this, just start, getting your perks now. We can still do it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How long have you guys been working on this project?
It's a fairly new project. We started officially a couple of months ago. Some of these stories were developed earlier, like the Black Terror story I wrote. I actually originally wrote for another book that was never published. So I was so I repurposed it. Cool. Then I approached Clint and Chuck about also doing stories. And so that was a couple of months ago, I think. Wouldn't you say, Clint? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, probably 2 months ago, I think. Something like that.
So yeah, now a lot of the art isn't done yet because the reason we have a high marker on here is we're getting some quality artists, and good artists who work well and timely aren't cheap. So as Clint will tell you, I'm sure with Downcast, if you want someone who's going to produce a really quality book and do it in a timely manner, you got to pay them. So we really need this our goal to be able to get the art team paid, and do printing and fulfillment and everything we got. It's going to be a bit of an expensive campaign to finish.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you, David. Isn't the publisher, in addition to Thrilling Comics, isn't there another title that's also being resurrected as well, like another past?
Okay, so I have been doing a lot of work, and I know what you're talking about. I've been doing a lot of work with Art Press, and Outer Press has been resurrecting a number of public domain titles, and that was actually part of the inspiration here because I had been working on exciting comics. I might be the one you're thinking of.
I think maybe I was thinking of Planet Comics.
Oh, Planet Comics is another. It's in that line. That one comes out in, I think they moved it up to January, or it's originally it was February. It may still be February, but anyway, early 2019. And that issue is actually already done. It's in the can. We just gotta, solicit and send it off to the printers. I'll have a story in the second issue. I don't have anything in Planet, but yeah. So when I started working with Ben Dunn in late 2017, he had this whole idea of really trying to resurrect a lot of these titles. So Exciting Comics was the first one we wanted to do for superheroes. And then another creator approached AP about doing horror comics, which was a classic title. And then Chuck Dixon it was his idea to bring Jungle Comics back because Ben approached him and he said, hey, he wanted to basically bring Chuck into this whole public domain line. And he asked him what he wanted to do. And he said he wanted to do Jungle. So Ben organized that campaign and we did publish the book. And then Planet's coming out. So with Thrilling, it was just, what happened with Exciting is that Exciting, I was told was going to start moving more to original characters and less with the public domain, but I still have these ideas for public domain stories I want to do. So I'm like, well, if AP doesn't want to do it, they are public domain. I can do it myself. Sure. So that's when I started approaching Clint and Chuck about doing this.
Okay. Very cool.
Let's see. We got a question from Cyborg Man. Cyborg Man says, hello, quick question. Sorry to bother you, but I see quite a lot of people using the StreamYard. Oh, is this a new thing? Yeah, Google Hangouts just got rid of Google Hangouts Live or Google Hangouts on air, I think they called it. And so StreamYard is just another free one. You could use more intense ones, but I don't know. I like free. Free's nice. So that's why you see it so much. Let's see.
Free is good.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
Saves money that you give to artists for future projects.
That's right. Yeah, I'd rather not be putting money into the streaming stuff and put it into the book instead. Seems like a better idea.
It's good thinking.
Foxby5 says, I saw Joker yesterday and it was amazing. Nice.
I'm not hearing many people that did not like it. It seems like the overall feedback I'm hearing right now is very positive.
Yeah, and this is one thing I wanted to look at, and that is, I'm going to share my screen here again. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes, I always find this interesting. It's actually not as big of a split as I was imagining there would be. The critic one is 69%, and then the audience score is 90%, which is 90% is really impressive for Rotten Tomatoes. Doesn't seem like that happens very often. But yeah, I haven't seen the movie, so yeah. I don't know.
Now, I heard a criticism of Joker today that actually I thought was really valid. I don't want to say it ruined the movie for me, but it definitely made me feel I had to distance it from a comic book movie because someone pointed out, they're like, okay, this is a good movie. Joker was well portrayed, except that they're like, there's no way that version of Joker is going to turn into a criminal mastermind. And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced this guy, is this mad genius who has all these diabolical plans.
Huh. It was just a different character almost. Huh?
Yeah.
It was more
I could see they set him up like he's a leader of movement, but there's a difference between being, that's an entirely different Joker than what we see in the comics.
Right. Graham, what were you going to say?
I was saying he's just more like a mental illness bent, I guess is the sort of the take on it, is that he's very ill instead of intelligent or maniacal or whatever you want to say.
Well, and it definitely is probably the most realistic portrayal of the Joker.
Yeah.
As far as like if he were real. I mean, I know that's what Heath Ledger was going for, and that was not too far fetched. But the Heath Ledger one, while excellently portrayed, he just seemed a little too clever for realism. But Joaquin Phoenix's one, I'm like, you could totally see someone doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's like the evil genius versus the just insane, right? Mentally ill.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, like really, he goes to Arkham Asylum every time he's caught. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, that is an interesting perspective on it. But at the same time, he is an evil genius, depending on which story arc you're reading.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely, that is interesting.
I just don't see the Joaquin Phoenix Joker being like a real problem for Batman. Aside from the fact he'll be a lot older then, so he won't even like be physically like unless he gets powers or something. But he just, I don't know. I feel that Batman could probably go through him pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting that they're exploring these little, I don't know, I almost think of like an Elseworld story with, you know, in the same universe or an adjacent universe. I don't know. And that just shows how many comic book based movies are out. It's kind of mind blowing when I think about it.
Yeah.
Well, it was easy for DC to kind of make this transition because their cinematic universe is really falling apart. So it's easy for them to go, okay, we'll just do this one off on the side and not worry about tying it together.
Yeah, DC movies, I'm trying to think. I really liked Wonder Woman. Beside that, I mean, I liked the Dark Knight trilogy. Those were awesome. But, you know, of the more recent ones, it was like Wonder Woman. I really enjoyed. The other ones, not really. I don't know, is that blasphemous?
I
like
agree
Aquaman.
with you completely. Like just recently watched Aquaman, and when I finished it, I was like, I'm not really sure what I just watched.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed Aquaman because it was a good portrayal of the story from the comic. I mean, there was definitely some differences, but it was very much a classic Aquaman story, and I like Aquaman a lot, and good visuals too. You know, it was popular. Wonder Woman was popular, but everyone's tired of the rest of the movies. They're switching up the Batman movie. I mean, there's no way Justice League's going to get a sequel at this point. I haven't heard anything about doing another Henry Cavill Superman. Has anyone?
I haven't heard that. No.
Well, I mean, they're going to have, oh no, Superman. Sorry, I was thinking Batman. I was like, the vampire guy is going to be.
Yeah, I saw Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Batman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they did Shazam in a way where it could be like part of the cinematic universe or separate if they wanted to. So I don't know. Like I said, it looks like DC universe is kind of falling apart. You're just saying like, let's just start making movies.
Yeah. I heard so many good things about Aquaman. I was really excited to watch it, and I'm with Wes. I was really disappointed. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I was hoping for though, because I'm not a huge Aquaman fan of the comics. But so you know, to be fair, but yeah. And here's someone that disagrees. Little Peep Peep says Aquaman was great. So yeah, I'm glad that people like
That's
it.
because this guy is smart. He knows good movies.
I thought from a movie standpoint, you know, the visuals were fantastic, and I liked a lot of the actors in it. I think my thing personally was it was so many different types of movies. Like it was an underwater adventure movie, and then about midway through it became an Indiana Jones movie, and so I was just kind of confused of the tone overall. So I found that very disjointed. Now, on top of that, let me also say that I currently have a 6-month-old daughter, so I have to watch all of my movies in like 10-minute start and stop with the closed captioning on. So I get a little confused because I haven't slept in 6 months. So
Well, they
maybe that's
did
part
try
of
to
it.
do too much. I mean, they tried to bring the Black Manta story in, and they had the Ocean Master story, and that part where they went in the desert. You're right. That didn't make any sense. I'm like, why would these two water-based people go to like a place where people who aren't water-based can't really survive?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just for that sweat scene, I think, where she collects the sweat or something from his brow.
I mean, like, they jump into the desert with like no parachutes and no supplies. I'm like, you're dead. I mean, you're water people. You're in the Sahara Desert with nothing.
Yeah. I question about Aquaman because I'm not an Aquaman reader, but I've been thinking about getting into more of, I don't know, just like the best of the best, Is there an Aquaman run that is must read or an Aquaman run that is for the beginner just getting into Aquaman? What do you think?
That's kind of two separate questions. Sure. Yeah. I think my favorite Aquaman story is the Peter David run from the 90s. Peter David did a 4-issue miniseries first called Aquaman Time and Tide, I think was the name of it. And it actually has a little bit of origin. So you could start with it. And then he had a monthly book where he wrote from like issue 1 to 50. And I just thought it was really good. Very classic Peter David superhero stuff. So you can appreciate it without liking Aquaman. If you just like Peter David style.
Nice. Well, cool. Yeah. Another one is Hellboy. That's one I've been wanting to get into for a while. And I don't know why. I just haven't. And so I don't know. I'm thinking about picking up they have the big old thick hardbacks that are oversized. That sounds like fun. I want to get into some of those. So
Yeah, the Hellboy comic is. I've read a lot of it, not all of it, but it's a lot of fun if you like weird stuff. If you're
Yeah.
open to suspending your disbelief and don't want to think about things too hard, it's a great comic. And Mike Mignola's art is just fun to look at.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen the newest movie yet. I would really like to. I just haven't had the opportunity. I've heard didn't do very well. Obviously, I think we
Yeah.
all know that. But one of my friends who I trust and has the same sensibilities as me says, no, you're gonna love it. So I'm excited to see it.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I haven't seen it either. But again, it's just Mike Mignola's artwork. Every time I see it, I'm like, I want to read that. That just looks
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's worth it.
It's very good.
Yeah, I gotta get that. Let's check in on some of the stuff we're looking at here. We're gonna share the screen again. This always takes a little bit longer. So just a reminder to everybody, we got possibly a new crowd of people in. This is Awry. This is a different way than we're normally, I don't know, at least on this channel, used to promoting comics, and it's kind of nice because it's on demand. Essentially, you can get Awry. This is coming out. When is this coming out? Really soon.
Comes out on Wednesday.
Wednesday. Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Is it by Action Lab?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Is this your first time to work with Action Lab?
it is. Yes.
All right. Well, I posted the link in the description or in the chat. We'll say that. And yeah, if you haven't, I don't know if you're interested in checking it out, you can actually pre-order it. It looks like right now, and this is just the digital version. So yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wes? Why don't you give us, or I don't know, Graham, either one of you can flip a coin.
I'd
Give
love
us
to hear Graham describe it this time.
Yeah,
Oh,
Graham.
great. Here we go.
Give us a pitch. Yeah.
For Awry?
Yes.
Okay, so, well, I guess I could give more of the, well,
You got this.
I don't
I
know.
believe in you.
well, Wes is more of the salesman, I guess, but Awry is a sci-fi comedy comic, I guess, about a crew on the Philos, I guess. Is that how you pronounce that, Wes? I never really asked, I guess.
That sounds good to me.
The Philos, which is a phallic shaped ship, or you could say it looks like a gun, I guess, more like, because I think Wes said that at one point after I drew it, which is kind of funny. But
Nice.
anyway, it's a crew that's, they've been on this space mission for 10 years, in search of, I'm not sure how much I can really say without revealing too much.
You say whatever you want. I'll make a really loud noise if you say too much.
Oh, well, basically they're this crew that's on this ship for 10 years, and it's a lot about the interactions that they have, and the main character, he's very cynical, fed up with everything. It was a good, I don't know, it was very entertaining for me to read Wes's writing and draw based off. It was my first time sort of drawing a full series, so it's basically like a playground to draw based off a writer's prompts. But yeah, I don't know if this is a great pitch for the story. I don't know how much I can say is the problem.
Yeah, man, you're doing great. So it's a fun sci-fi space adventure, and one of the reasons that Graham was the perfect artist for this is he's always doing cool sketches that are very technology focused. And so I just threw as much technology into this script as I could. I was like, we need a spaceship, we need this weapon, we need this crazy new alien world, we need this, we need that, just to kind of like challenge him, because part of me just wanted to see what the heck he would come up with. And you wowed me every time, man.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, I started this comic I started drawing it when I was like a sophomore in college, I think. So I had a lot of development throughout from issue 1 to 4. There was a lot of development there in the 2 years that it took. So for me, I can see crazy changes in the art. I'm sure a lot of people can't, but it was just a lot of fun to get that I don't know, those prompts from Wes, and just have a lot of fun with the art and stuff. I really liked how the characters developed and things like that with the art. So it was really cool to.
Yeah, and like you said, man, like you can really see how much you grew throughout this series, and I find that anytime I do a mini series, like there's always changes from the first issue to the last issue because you've drawn the characters 1,000 times by that point. So you get into these like little intricacies and these shortcuts and stuff. So that's one of my favorite things, honestly, about the book is just seeing kind of your development and seeing how you really, you didn't back down because it just gets crazier and crazier as it goes, through the subsequent issues. And I threw crazier and crazier stuff at you and you just kind of tackled it all head on.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Not that you had a choice either, I guess, but
Yeah,
you did great.
I will also say, like, it's fun. It's like a lot of fun as an artist to draw all the stuff that a good writer is portraying to you, but at the same time, it's extremely difficult task to finish a comic like that. I guess, which it really, I don't know. I like that aspect of it because it really changes you as a creator once you're done through a whole project. So.
Absolutely. It's cool. I also love that it's finished. You've already done all the work. I know it's kind of scary to me personally when I think about like how much, it's just all this effort in getting it all done. But the readers really benefit from that because you can get in there and you can binge it. And that's how the release schedule works. Everything's there and available, so you can actually just read everything. So that is really, really cool. Interesting. I'm curious to see how this works.
Yeah, the thing that always scares me about comics is that, like Graham said, we worked on this for years. Graham was in college and out of college by the time that he finished this. And then the reader comes along and gets to read the whole series. It'll take them, 30 minutes if they power through it. So it's just funny that you spend so much time and then the experience of it is really it's quick by comparison. So I encourage anybody that picks up a copy to really pore over those details and really appreciate those backgrounds.
Yeah. Well, don't look too hard. It's I think every artist has those things. Sometimes it's not the most refined work, but I still like that. I like the result. And
well, you got to look at it this way too, man. If you can look at it now and see areas to improve, then you've learned something, and that's worth it all right there.
Definitely so. Absolutely.
Also, like, this definitely looks like a charming indie comic, and I don't know, it's really what I've been into, especially lately, is just indie comics and seeing the different kinds of creativity that you get out of that.
Yeah.
So
I love it. All this stuff, there's so many artists and writers now who are just self-publishing or whatever. Obviously it causes an oversaturation in the market, but at the same time you get all this beautiful, niche, like really cool stuff. So
cool. Are there any artists that you really are into, or you just will seek out their work whenever they put something out?
Well, guys who've obviously started out independent and like shot to the top, like Daniel and Warren Johnson.
Oh, of course.
Like, the Murder Falcon stuff that he's done recently, which is really cool.
It's awesome. That's just a good book.
The expressiveness of his art is really awesome. And it's cool just to see like guys like that skyrocketing up just based on their own following, like individualistic followings online, social media and stuff. I like, those guys that's like a more established guy, but I don't know. I think Trad Moore is one establishment. Big two guy that is really incredible. And like
totally,
his art is totally not establishment. Like, he gets, the Silver Surfer, like the most recent stuff that he's done is like absolutely insanely beautiful and like artistic. And it's crazy that, he's able to do that in the mainstream.
Right. Yeah. That they allow him to do that. But his style works. Like he did.
Totally.
I remember reading an issue of, I don't know if he did just an issue or a series of Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he did.
And Ghost Rider isn't a character that I normally care about, but man, I like looking at those books.
Yes.
In his original pages too, like I've just seen pictures online. I didn't realize that he worked traditionally.
Yeah.
You look at those original pages and it's insane.
It's crazy.
It's definitely like, I don't know, I'd say like a anime influence, I guess.
Definitely.
If you look at it, but it's one of those styles you can pick out, from a line, even though it has, you can see the kinds of influences that he has. You just look at a page and it's like, oh, that's Trad Moore.
There's no doubt.
Maybe I'll pull up a page here too, just so people know what we're talking about.
You can pull up his his Tumblr, which has a bunch of great promotional art on there or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, Trad Moore is amazing.
Here we go. I got his website. That's the first thing
Yeah.
that came up here.
Yeah,
I've never seen either of these pieces,
Cool.
but they're amazing. Like this one on the left, I don't know how well this translates to people watching on YouTube, but he's got every individual line drawn. It's so interesting. It's like every strand of hair or clump of hair, I guess. He also does this thing with the muscles.
Mhm.
It's really interesting.
very
I-
fluid and like water almost.
Yeah.
It's just sort of flows. I don't know. That's what I like about it. Is just sort of very fluid. For comics, it's great because your eye just flows. Like
Yeah,
so
you can
good across
you
the
can
page.
do this kind of stuff. Like what kind of ground? I don't know what Batman's standing on here. It doesn't look like anything I've ever seen, but it's
Yeah.
so interesting to look at though. And
Yeah.
that's I don't know. Yeah, he's fantastic, really good. I'm just while we're at it, let's see
Definitely.
comic covers. This is always fun. Yeah, really, really unique stuff.
Oh
Definitely.
man, that he's got a xenomorph on there that's insane.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right, yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, so speaking of influences, I'm curious, Graham, what are some of your influences for art?
Well, definitely guys like that. I mean, Trad came a little later, I guess. Originally, I was like very into Japanese manga as a kid. I guess you could say like Dragon Ball Z, which sounds very
Yeah.
strange. I don't know if you could see any of that in my art. Probably not. I don't know. I think my art style has come a lot from me just like drawing on my own and trying to just, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, so like, yeah, like Japanese manga, I mean, was the main thing when I was a kid. I really like Ryan Stegman too. He's a great
Oh, yeah.
artist, very fluid like Trad is with his like figures and stuff. Mobius is a major influence of mine. He's like a French
That's-
comic sci-fi artist.
That's who I thought when I very first saw your work. That's the first person that came to mind.
Yeah, like very line oriented. Not I don't really use heavy blacks obviously for shadows and things. So that's like a major influence, I guess. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever seen like any of his comics
Oh,
or anything, but
Sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So
Yeah. He's good. He's really good.
Jeff Darrow, great,
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
so cool. Similar vein as Mobius, but really cool stuff. Shaolin Cowboy is one of his cool comics you could check out.
Yes,
So.
it's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah.
Speaking
It's
of
like
Okay.
somebody got me the one of my friends got me the Shaolin Monk hardcover, and it's just I don't know if you guys have read it, but it's literally this book that's just this gigantic action sequence of him destroying zombies and stuff. It's so insane.
oh,
Yeah,
cool.
it's really cool.
Yeah, sort of thinking about influences. With writing, it's a little bit more difficult to spot, at least obviously not from a glance. David, it was really interesting process for me to read your script. And I've read a couple of Chuck Dixon scripts before, but I also read his for this project, The Cat in Black. It's just cool to sort of compare scripts. If you were to pinpoint some influences for you, David, what would you say for your writing?
Comic wise, I'd say if I had to pick two people, I'd go with Chris Claremont and Peter David. I mean, like, the classic X-Men from the 80s. That was, some of the first books I ever picked up. And I mean, his run was brilliant. I mean, not every issue is great, but I mean, just that you take a look at what he did over a period of 10 plus years, very impressive. I like how what I like about Peter David is that he makes any character interesting, at least for me, because he had written a lot of characters that I honestly just didn't care about. Like, I was never a fan of the Hulk, but every time I picked up one of his Hulk books back when he was writing it, I was always entertained. I always cared about what was going on. He wrote Supergirl in the late 90s, and it was not the Kara Danvers one. It was this 90s version, and not really a character I'd ever followed. But again, he just is such a good writer that, I just could not like it. And it was just one of those things you just kind of had to love. So yeah, I'd say those two big influences. I'm also I mean, I'm kind of like you, Clint, that, I was doing books before comics. And so some of my writing style is actually coming from the novel approaches I like.
Yeah.
So writers like Timothy Zahn, like I used to read like his classic Star Wars books from way back when, was an influence. And as well as Michael Straczynski. I loved his run on Babylon 5. I thought that was the way to tell a science fiction story if you want to do it in a like ongoing series type way. So I try to pull a lot from his style as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Straczynski's one for me. Just his run on Spider-Man. He just made the stakes were always so high.
Mm-hmm.
He just did such a good job at writing and keeping things interesting. But yeah, I do notice a difference in at least what I'm reading for sure. But when there are writers that come from writing prose or long form fiction and then they move into comics, there are differences in how they write as opposed to if you just started in comics. I'm not sure like I'm smart enough to articulate exactly what they are, but there's definitely a difference.
I can point to a good example of what you're saying, Clint.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name. He's the guy who wrote Black Panther for a long time in fairly recent years. Last name starts with a C or a K. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Anyway, I think he started writing Black Panther around 2015. He was a novelist.
Oh, I think it's Coates.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, I can't remember his first name, but I read some of that
Danny?
Black Panther run. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Right. So he was a novelist before he started doing Black Panther. So I was very curious because I heard his books were good and never read any of them. So I picked up the early issues of Black Panther, and I thought that the story was very interesting. The characters were very interesting, but it's like he didn't know how to tell it in a comic book format. So one thing I noticed is just like how the pacing is handled. Just don't have that good sense of how to keep action up as much as a comic writer does. Now, he's written a lot of comics since then, so that's changed. But just going back and looking at some of his earlier stuff. And I noticed that also with some Star Wars stuff I read back in the 90s when Dark Horse was doing it. They'd periodically pull people over who'd had histories as novel writers first. And it's just, they could come up with great stories, but they just didn't know how to pace it out.
Yeah.
In a comic format, I should say.
There's definitely a difference. And it's a little bit of a learning curve for sure. That was a big thing for me is like you don't have the number of pages to control pacing because you're limited. You know what I mean? Like you still got to tell the story and you have a shorter period of time to tell it, shorter number of pages. And so, it's finding other ways using the artwork to control the pacing as opposed to, adding more pages or, like flushing things out more. You just don't have that luxury.
Yes. And every individual issue should be an arc within itself. Even if you're doing a 4-issue miniseries where, each one's a chapter or a greater story, you still bring the issue to a point where it makes sense to stop and wait for a month for the next one. And again, that was what I was noticing that a lot of novel artists, authors, had trouble doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Scott Snyder's another one. He came from writing long form fiction first. I'm trying to think of, have you guys ever read Peter Panzerfaust? Yeah. Scott Snyder did.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I think he did like novel. I mean, he's been writing comics for so long now and written so many.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does kind of, I don't know. It's just like a different school of thought. That's how you initially learn how to write. And so, yeah, there's a difference. Peter Panzerfaust. If you guys have read that too.
Yeah. By Curtis Weeb.
Curtis Weeb. He's one too that he started out in, just writing fiction, short stories or something.
Who publishes that book?
That's an Image book.
Image.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's from
it sounds familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, it's good. I quite enjoyed it. I highly recommend it.
It's like a retelling of Peter Pan, but set during World War II. It's a very interesting concept.
Yeah. I need to check that out.
When did that come out?
It was back in the early
2010s, I think.
Yeah, 14, 13, 12, somewhere in there.
Huh. I just missed it.
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it. I think I still have. I need to get the last trade. They had like a little I don't know why. It was like they had a little time period before they published the very last trade paperback, and so I kind of was just like, well, I'm waiting for this thing, and I just anyway kept waiting. So I got to get it.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually didn't read the last one either.
Yeah, it was just such a long time period. It didn't,
Yeah, kind of forgot about it.
I think it better be out by now.
Yeah, it is. I know I've seen it, but I just haven't dug into it yet.
Yeah, I got to pick it up. I enjoyed it. That's a series I actually got my mom. I'm always trying to get people into reading comics, and my mom loves to read them. Like, you got to try a series. And I tried to think of something that she might be interested in, a jumping on point, and that's the one I picked. So she said she liked it. Okay, I don't know if she's going to be visiting a comic shop anytime soon, but
Well, that was a better recommendation than say like The Punisher or something.
yeah, exactly. And man, this Tradmore's website is just never ending. Gorgeous,
Oh yeah,
gorgeous inks.
Yeah.
Amazing.
it's crazy. He has this interesting way he holds the pen too. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but he's got this huge callus on one of his fingers from that.
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's kind of like it looks disgusting, but it's actually it just proves like I don't know. He's got this interesting way that he pulls those lines across the page, I guess, with that brush. So
Cool.
Put
You want to
it
be
time in.
amazing at art and get a deformed hand.
yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get some sort of deformity, I guess.
Right.
For
It's like the MMA fighters get cauliflower ear.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, you got to have something,
Sacrifice.
right? Yeah. Man, his lines are just perfect, and this is why I thought he's got to do this digitally. But
Yeah. So
man,
you said he's all traditional.
He
I-
is.
yeah,
That's crazy.
He does.
Grant-
He does the organic shapes with the brush, and then does the if he's doing like mechanical shapes. He said that he does it with a pen and a normal mechanical pen. So
That's
sort of his
insane.
philosophy, I guess, or at least last I heard. I mean, I looked into it a little bit.
Yeah,
Now, Graham, have you ever worked digitally before?
Only for the colors. I've never
okay.
really never done too much. I did some things for the. I do this Instagram comic called Tales from the Wastes. It's like a Fallout fan comic, and I did some early on, like digital
Okay.
experimenting with that. But it's so hard for me. I don't have the high tech equipment. I've just got like it's no excuse, but it's I don't know. I'm probably just sort of eccentric in that I like drawing on paper. I like the feeling, tactile feeling. So
That's cool.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. I think you do what works for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah. If I enjoy it less, I probably wouldn't do it. So
Yeah.
Well, there's also an economic value to drawing traditional too. Is that as you get a following, that gets the extra way to make some money selling those pages. I've
Oh,
heard
yeah.
some of the professionals who still do traditional. They
Uh-huh.
can sell the original art for like 3 times what they got a page rate for. So they can basically
Jeez.
like make their money times 4 whatever they got hired for.
Oh yeah, I saw. It's kind of a bad example, but I saw some of Greg Capullo's Batman pages were going for like $50,000
Oh
or
my
his
God.
covers or something like that. One of the covers
Yeah.
went for like $50K. It's just
yeah,
the top. That's the top of the top echelon, obviously, but
yeah.
it's just crazy.
That's amazing.
It's crazy
good.
the jump it is from a
Yep.
guy who's just doing an indie comic to that guy at the top.
Yeah.
It's just
Well, there's
crazy.
a big collector's market for like original page art, because think about it.
Yeah.
If you draw a page for a comic and you do it traditionally, there's only one version of that original page.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
Just
true.
it's art value. I guess it's art market value.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, for Downcast, I had the original page that I got for the variant cover, and I priced it at what I thought was pretty high. I priced it at $1,000 because I thought if somebody buys it, it'll be worth it. But I kind of wanted, like we'll discourage it a little bit just because I'll keep it. But
Yeah.
that thing, it just sold.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I've got a variant cover, little sneak, I guess, or a spoiler. Yeah, Downcast 2. I already have the variant cover from again Matt Weldon, and I'm really excited about it. It is insane. It's awesome. I'm not going to show it yet, but Yeah, we'll get there.
If people want some original art, we've got some of our Thrilling Comics covers up, even cheaper than the $1,000.
Right. Yeah, we should.
We actually had one of our covers is an actual oil painting. I don't know the dimensions on it. It's bigger than your traditional 11x17, but yeah. So that one we're putting up there for $800, but you get all the books with it as well. And then he did a pencil, like he didn't paint over the pencils. He just kind of penciled out to see composition.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a picture of it there, and we're selling that one as well.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
And then $300. That's a really good deal. And then,
So,
yeah,
I mean, and again, for people like us doing campaigns, that's an advantage of traditional art. You can have more incentives to give away.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, we got to check in on this again, too. David, why don't you give us a little rundown on Thrilling Comics Murder and Mayhem? We got to push this thing and get it funded because it's too good. It's too good. It has to be funded. But yeah, give us a little rundown.
Well, let's tell you a little bit more about the Black Terror story I'm writing. So this is modern Black Terror. It's set in 2020, I guess, by the time the book will be released. So the idea is that the Black Terror had been around in the 40s. They're like the original Black Terror had existed. People weren't sure if he was an urban legend or urban myth or if he really was a hero. It's been 70 plus years, about 80 years now. And suddenly he's back. But he's causing terror now. So it's like he's back, but he's a bad guy. And people are trying to figure out what he's going on, trying to figure out how to stop him. And the person who lines up to stop him is the Black Terror. So you want to understand why there's two Black Terrors running around, you got to read the book. But that's kind of my pitch. Black Terror versus Black Terror.
Nice.
I got to get more succinct with my pitches. That was great.
And we have a really cool sort of backstory that's unique. It plays off the Golden Age one, but we add a lot to it. But I don't want to say too much about it here because it gets into some spoilers. But it's a good story. You'll like it.
Awesome.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, I just realized have been going for an hour at least. So I think we're going to wrap this up, but I want to remind everybody, Thrilling Comics, I'm going to post the link in the chat here again. If you haven't backed it yet, please do. It's a really great way to support indie comic creators and get some good books. I mean, again, Chuck Dixon is on this. That's amazing. Awesome. Such an honor to be in the same book as Chuck Dixon. I can't get over that still.
Cool.
This is great. Thrilling Comics, and then also Awry, which is on Comixology. I'm going to post the link in the chat as well. And Awry is coming out Wednesday, but you can pre-order it right now.
Absolutely.
So, let's hear a pitch again for Awry.
Sure. So Awry is a sci-fi comic told in 4 issues about a crew of astronauts on their way to check out a black hole. They've been on the ship for 10 years. Things aren't going so well. And when they get to their destination, things go even worse. But they have to stick together in order to survive an alien landscape and make it home in one piece.
Beautiful. Yeah, that was good. You've done this before, I can tell.
So beautiful.
Like poetry.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop sharing the screen here. Thanks, everybody. All my guests, Wes, Graham, and David. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thanks for everyone who is watching. Don't forget to leave a like on your way out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, that really helps out. So appreciate it. And we will see you next time.
Cool. All right. Talk to you later.